I've travelled all the way from Sydney, Australia. Australia is famous for its beaches, barbecues, kangaroos, and of course, 9 of the deadliest animals on the planet. Between the man-eating sharks, crocodiles, venomous snakes, funnel-web spiders, and poisonous jellyfish, the fact that I'm a woman standing here today in her 50s and I've survived is a miracle in itself. Maybe that should have been my TEDx talk, how I survived living in Australia. Well, you might notice that I have an accent. But if you can't understand anything I say today, don't worry. Just imagine Chris Hemsworth is standing right there and he's translating every word. Now I bet you can understand everything I'm saying, can't you ladies in the room? Australia is considered the land down under, which is just a fancy way to say that we are upside down on the other side of the world. And yes, gravity is still working there too. Trust me, I can feel it in my butt and I can see it in my face. I've even caught myself looking in the mirror and I'll go, who is that? And then I realise, oh my God, that's me. So gravity is definitely doing its thing here in midlife. Have you ever wondered, wouldn't it be great if we could defy gravity? You know, like Glenda and Alphaba from Wicked? I mean, I think those girls were onto something when they sang that song. Time to start defying gravity. Don't worry, I won't be singing all the way through. But wouldn't it be great if we could? I mean, maybe we can't on our skin in our bodies, but what if we could in our minds? Because we spend so much time and money trying to defy gravity on the outside. But what if the real secret was on the inside? What if we stopped doing all of that and we started to develop what I like to call a AAA rating, an anti-aging attitude? Because your mindset could be the ultimate anti-aging secret. Who here believes that in midlife, you're past your prime? And who believes that the best is yet to come? Well, I hope by the end of my talk today, I can shift your perspective on how you see aging and midlife. You might all be familiar with this phrase, a midlife crisis. I believe the only crisis in midlife is if you don't embrace this time of your life. When people say that it's the end of the road, it's just crazy because it's only halfway. There's a beginning, a middle, and an end. So wouldn't midlife be considered our prime, the sweet spot, the launchpad to our biggest success? I mean, it makes sense to think that midlife would be our greatest advantage. We've overcome so much. We've built resilience. We've survived. We've adapted. We've become resourceful. And we've built resilience through life lessons, setbacks, and heartbreak, divorces and kids. And we've reinvented ourselves time and time again. So wouldn't we consider that midlife would be our prime? Of course it would. If we've done all of these things and we have survived and we have reinvented ourselves again and again, then that would be the best time for us in our prime. I recently saw Forbes 50 over 50. It was celebrating women creating their greatest impact in their 50s, 60s and beyond. To me, that means that there's no expiration date for success. And I also heard that 40 is the new 30, 50 is the new 40, and 60 is the new 50. Women are thriving in midlife. Look at Mel Robbins. She's the author of The Let Them Theory. She pivoted in her career in her 50s. She started the Mel Robbins podcast at 54, and it is now considered the #1 podcast globally. Harvard Business Review did a study and found that women 40 plus are the fastest growing group of entrepreneurs in the world. More women are leaving traditional careers in midlife to pursue careers and launch businesses at record rates. And this idea that menopause and aging make you invisible is so outdated when we look at women like Beyonce and Jennifer Lopez selling out stadiums and reinventing what midlife looks like. So why have we been told and led to believe that we are over the hill in our 40s and 50s? I know how outdated a lot of these myths are, and like so many of us, I have also proven that they no longer define our reality. Let me take you back to a conversation that changed everything for me, and I didn't even see it coming. One day, my husband just walks in and says, "Why don't we start that little takeaway chicken shop we always spoke about?" I was standing there in my Christian Louis Vuitton red bottom heels, and I thought, he must be crazy. He can't possibly be talking to me. I said, "What takeaway chicken shop? Do I look like a chicken lady?" But more importantly, do these shoes belong in a chicken shop? No, they don't. I said, "Don't be ridiculous. Besides, I have zero hospitality experience." Well, fast forward 7 years. We didn't just build one chicken shop, we built 3 through lockdowns and chaos, and once we announced it, everybody thought we were crazy. I was 43 years old. I had a teenage son with ADHD who was in his final years of high school. I'd be in a busy lunch period cutting up chickens, lineups out the door, and I'd get a phone call from the principal telling me that my son was on the verge of suspension again. I'd be like, "Oh God, what has he done now?" I'd be forgetting supplier orders, running out of stock, burning chickens, and crying on the way to the grocery store to get lettuce because I'd stuffed up another salad order. All the while, I was being laughed at, judged by friends, family, and the men in this male-dominated industry that I was in. My husband, who had this fabulous idea from the beginning, well, he stayed as a CEO in construction, while I was the one building the restaurants. The running joke was, how long before this girl burns down the chicken shops? Honestly, I was asking myself the same question. It was the most challenging chapter of my life. But after 7 years of building that business, I had a moment of truth. They no longer aligned with who I was becoming. I had just turned 50, and I knew I had a bigger calling. After years of building that business, I did build a strong brand and a 7-figure business, and franchising was always part of the plan. But here's where midlife rewrites the script. I heard a whisper that roared. This was the midlife crossroads. And if you haven't stood at the crossroads yet, don't worry, it has a way of finding you. It may not look like mine. There may not be any chickens involved. But when it comes, it could be your moment to pause, to pivot, and to maybe embrace a chapter that you may have thought was too late. For me, the crossroads look like this. To the left was safety, franchising, predictable profits potentially. And to the right was soul work, stages, books, helping women through their next chapter. I chose the whisper and I sold them all to a hospitality group. I walked away with something far more valuable: my life lessons, my wisdom, and my battle scars that all had prepared me to step fully into my next chapter. It's well known that we change in cycles every 7 years. Something inside us can shift. Our careers, our identities, our purpose, our desires. What once felt aligned can somehow feel out of place. That was me. After 7 years of building that brand, they no longer aligned with me anymore. It was my reset, my shift, and my sign. I began to hear a quiet voice that was whispering, "Are you ready for me yet?" Have you ever heard that voice? It can sit dormant inside you for years, sometimes even decades, until you start to listen. It's not loud or dramatic, but it's there. It's reminding you you're not done yet. That dream, that vision, and that idea, it's still there, waiting and nudging. However, midlife has a way of keeping things very interesting for women, especially navigating perimenopause and menopause. But have you noticed the shift that's taking place around this subject? There's a movement happening. More women are talking about menopause than ever before. From Oprah Winfrey using her global platform to Naomi Watts, menopause advocate and actress, and Oscar winner Halle Berry. They're all using their voices to shed a light on a subject that has long carried stigma. The New York Times bestseller list consistently features a book on menopause. There's a shift, and it's changing the way we perceive this time of our lives. I like to see menopause as a metamorphosis. We go from being a caterpillar into our cocoon, and we emerge a beautiful butterfly. It's our awakening. But here's the thing. That cocoon stage, it's not easy. It's disorientating. It can look like forgetting your best friend's name when you go to introduce her. It can be those 3 a.m. hot sweats when you haven't slept and you feel like a zombie. It's that mysterious spare tire that just appeared on your belly overnight. And it's that dull, melancholy feeling you just can't explain. But what if we saw this time of our lives not as something to resist or fear, but as a sacred transition, a rite of passage, like childbirth? That season demands something of you, but then it gives you something back in return. That cocoon stage can be very lonely, but it's doing sacred work. It's shedding the old version of you so you can rise into the next. I know in my own transition of menopause, something unexpected happened. The fog began to lift. My clarity returned. And I realised a whole identity shift had taken place. Anthropologist Margaret Mead calls this the postmenopausal zest. She described it as a surge of energy, clarity, confidence, and leadership that emerges after menopause. Some people even call this the freedom phase. When estrogen decreases, something interesting begins to rise. It's a stronger sense of self and truth. It's like a hormonal permission slip that says, I do not need your external validation anymore. Dr. Mary Claire Haver, author of The New Menopause, calls this a mental and emotional awakening where women stop people-pleasing and start living with bold clarity. What a fabulous place to be. This is the real midlife advantage. We're not starting from scratch again, we're starting from experience. It's knowing this didn't just happen to you, it happened for you. And in the words of a Zen proverb, the butterfly does not look back at the caterpillar in shame. It knows the transition was necessary. So let me leave you with this. There's a quiet whisper that lives inside you. It's not loud, but it's persistent. It asks, are you ready for me yet? Midlife is your invitation to answer that whisper, to choose a AAA rating, that anti-aging attitude, and embrace the next chapter. Because your best chapter is still being written. And midlife, it's not your crisis. It's your greatest advantage. Thank you.